Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to WCS Season 2 Finals. Chobra, fantastic first game. I mean, we just couldn't have had a better game than Jaedong versus MC.
I mean, yeah, we had a full best of 3. We had a long game, short games, we had comebacks, all sorts of strategies to use, and we got to talk to Jaedong, kind of hear what he had to say and how he was actually caught off guard a little bit. And this is the way to kick off a world season final for sure, Paul.
Absolutely. Let's show you the bracket from Group A, because we're not quite done with the group just yet. We are today, but as you can see, Jaedong is the first man to claim his place in the quarterfinal. Tomorrow we'll see the final game of that group take place between MC and Rain. That was after Rain defeated Welmu 2-1 in their final game. So that game will take place tomorrow morning. I guess Jaedong gets an advantage of a nice little sleep and a lay-in tomorrow, and MC and Rain have to get up a bit earlier.
Yeah, I mean, that matters a lot in a 3-day tournament, or how many days. If you get to rest a little bit more for the second or third day, it's going to make a big difference. But talk about these two players who are left in this group. They're the ones both knocked down to this match by Jaedong himself. So they both want a little bit revenge, get back to the round of 8, and maybe get back at Jaedong later in the tournament.
Okay, our attention is going to turn to Group B now. So let's show you the 4 players in Group B via the bracket. And as you can see, we do have our first match to take place here on the stage will be Bomber versus Grubby. It's a tough match to call, this one. I'm torn because they're both 2 of my favourite players. So I'm not even going to go for an Artosis prediction at this point.
Yeah, I mean, these 2 players have great stories behind their careers. I mean, Grubby, of course, especially in Europe, who doesn't know his name? This guy's been making a name for himself for so many years in very different ways, and now he's back. He's back in seems very good form when we saw him in WCS Europe. Now, Bomber also went pretty far in WCS Korea with his classic aggression, his own playstyle. So I'm very interested in this matchup as well.
Yep, let's show you the matchup, how they match up against each other. As we said, it's Grubby versus Bomber. Now, the interesting thing, Bomber has been very consistent across both seasons as well. We didn't see Grubby in Season 1 reach that far through, but this time round he's made it all the way to the final season, so the season-ending finals.
Yeah, I mean, Grubby, there was very dramatic moments in WCS Europe, and anyone who watched knew that he put his heart into it, and he said, this is my time where I need to really go all out and see if I can get back in form, and he's here.
Absolutely. We'll introduce the players in just a moment, but it gives us an opportunity to talk about this thing in front of us. This trophy is very special.
It's very neat. I mean, it's one of the best trophies I've seen. It symbolizes exactly what we're here for. WCS Season 2 Finals for StarCraft 2, and it's really clean too. I love it.
Yeah, unfortunately, me and you, we can't take this home. It's not for us. So I think we are almost ready for the players to come out and join us, but this is a tough group to call, I think. I mean, where does it go? Where's your money? I'm going to get you to make a prediction.
Ooh, I mean, I try to steer away from predictions, but you're putting me on the spot, Paul. With Grubby and Bomber, I have to give it to Grubby. There is not only that home field advantage, but to him, it's not just an advantage. It means a lot more than just fans cheering for it. It means for him to defend his pride, really.
Yeah, so you're going to go with Grubby?
Yes.
Okay.
That puts you in a hard spot.
that puts me on Bomber's side, but I'm okay with that. Just check with the ladies and gentlemen before we go with our player instructions. Who would like to see Grubby win this one? Okay, I think we know where the crowd are right now. Who would like to see Bomber take this? Okay, there's still some support out there.
I mean, yeah, there's definitely support, but I'm feeling pretty comfortable with my prediction now that the crowd is supporting me too, and they're supporting Grubby, of course. And either way, this is going to be great, because Bomber, like you said, very consistent, regardless of home field advantage or if he has a tough opponent, he sticks to his plan and he makes it work. So we'll have to find out in this best of 3, Paul.
All right, it's time to bring the players out. Chobra, do the honors.
All right, well, the first player we're going to meet, we were just talking about how he can be so consistent. It's going to be none other than the player who lives up to his very own name, Star-Tailed Bomber.
And the Korean Terran goes head-to-head with Europe's favourite son. He has dominated Warcraft 3 for many, many years. He's now trying to do the same thing in StarCraft 2. Please welcome Grubby! The chanting for Grubby's name has already begun. I'm sure it's not the last we're going to hear of that. Thank you to Chobra for now. We're going to take a break on the main stage and we're going to send it over to our fantastic commentary duo. Please make some noise for Apollo and Rotterdam.
Thank you, Red Eye and Chobra once again, and hello, Rotterdam.
Hello, Shani.
How are you doing? Welcome back to Europe again.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice being back. I'm doing really well. It's been so much fun already. Like, we just had 2 series, but it feels like it's already been an amazing weekend of StarCraft 2 because there's so much to talk about.
The games have been amazing, man. You did a great job breaking it down, but now it's time to cast some games. And what a game we have coming up. Grubby versus Bomber. What do you think about this matchup?
I think it's going to be really fun. I think Bomber is going to be crazy aggressive. I think we're going to see a lot of drops, and I'm very curious to see if Grubby can carry on that momentum that he definitely had in WCS Europe to the big stage here. It's still different. There's perhaps even more pressure. There's so much on the line. I think it's going to be a really fun series, though.
I mean, I look at both players, and Grubby, he won over a lot of hearts if he didn't have them won over already anyway. In the WCS Europe Premier League, he broke down emotionally because it meant so much to him. But now he's on the big stage and he's playing against a big player in the likes of Bomber. I think Bomber, for me at least, is the favorite to win this game. I would love to see Grubby do well, but Bomber's phenomenal. He's played great. He was able to finish top 4 in WCS Korea Premier League. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's really good. And he came there as well by being able to beat a lot of Protoss players. Yes, he did go out against the Protoss players as well, as Rain proved too good for him, twice actually in that tournament, as they met in the second group stage as well. But he did defeat First, for instance, in the quarterfinal, 3-0, in a series where we all thought that First was actually absolutely invincible against Terran because he looked so good. Suddenly Bomber was there, and Bomber looked amazing, so it is hard to say how good he feels, but it's going to be fun.
Yeah, this is going to be fun one way or the other here. As we do see the vetoes now being set up for this matchup. Whirlwind first from Bomber, Star Station from Grubby, and then Derelict Watcher. What do you think about these vetoes so far?
I actually don't think that Grubby minds that much that he vetoes Derelict Watcher. I don't think there are too many Protoss players who love that map. It's not that bad against Terran, it's not as bad as it is against Zerg, but I think it's still kind of hard to keep track on the medevacs. That he vetoes Star Station, I can understand. It's kind of hard. There's so much airspace around that it's hard to defend against the drops. I'm not sure what his last veto is going to be. Newkirk.
Newkirk is the last map, which sets us up with 3. Bomber's going to be able to pick the first map of these 3, Akalon, Belcher, and Neoplanet. Which do you think that Bomber would maybe want to start this series on, considering his play style, that he's maybe the favorite going into this?
I think Akalon, but that's just a random guess.
Okay.
I think it's very hard to say.
I think that Grubby at this point doesn't even care too much. No. I think he's just very focused on getting into this series. You know, he beat MVP in the Europe Premier League. It was a game that nobody thought he could do. I don't think he believed he could do. And now it's time to begin. As Grubby decides to walk up the stairs, his booth is not up the stairs, Rotterdam. It is, of course, on the main stage. And things are about to begin here as the players do enter their booths.
He just wants to walk down the stairs again because the view is so pretty, Sean.
Have you been up there?
No. But I can only
imagine it being pretty.
I feel sometimes you shouldn't, some places you just shouldn't go as a commentator, and that's only for players. As long as we just keep playing ladders, Sean, then one day maybe we stand on top of this.
Maybe we'll get up to the top of those stairs. All right, so this
even if it's a Bronze League tournament, doesn't matter.
I mean, if it's a Bronze League tournament, man, we can play in it, and maybe we'll be on those stairs. But here we have Grubby playing in Group B, coming from the Europe Premier League, of course, finishing top 4 quite nice, a good finish from there. Likewise, Bomber top 4 as well in WCS Korea. But this is going to be an interesting one because already we've had one game develop. First beat Polt 2-0 in Group B.
Wow, I did not see that one coming.
I didn't expect that either. So First is in the winners match. First will play the winner of one of these 2.
That's... Actually, I'm really stunned by that because Polt looked close to invincible at WCS America just barely 10 days ago, and also against Protoss. He played absolutely fantastic against us. He played great against Jim as well. Wow, that surprises me a lot. First, and then Bomber was able to take out First 3-0. Right. And First takes out Polt 2-0.
I think Bomber's very confident to be able to ace this group now to win it all, but Grubby's going to stand in his way, and we can see here now if Grubby's going to be able to bring what it takes to move on 11 level. Because I really look at Grubby and I think that I'm not too sure if he's got his sights on the whole tournament, because he knows how hard of a tournament this actually is. But he's currently ranked 22, just outside of the top 16 which play at BlizzCon. And I know that one of his big goals is anybody's goal, to play at BlizzCon. And every level he moves up in this tournament, if he's able to get out the groups, it really stacks up his points if he's able to do well in the Season 3 as well. So this is going to be an important set of games for both players.
Here we can see the map order as well on our screen. So I was right, thinking that Eklan Waste is going to be the first map, second map is Belshire, and the third, if necessary, is going to be on Neoplanet S. The only small reason why I kind of felt Eklan would have been the first map is as I feel that that's the worst map to go for a 2-base Protoss all-in, because the ramp is so wide, so it's kind of hard to force field properly, or even with Colossus and stuff, it's easier to spread out your bio. On Neoplanet S and Belshire, that's a little bit easier, because on Belshire you don't have to go uphill and stuff. And I think that Bomber is feeling probably like, as long as I get up to a 3-base economy, or at least have a triple command center kicking in, I'm going to feel pretty confident. So I guess that's why he wants to play that map first, but you know, just speculating.
Yeah, I mean, starting on Akalon Waste here is a decent start for this series, just in general for both players. We do see Bomber now. Look at the win rate against Protoss, 50-50.
But look at his win rate against Terran.
It's incredible against Terran. These stats, by the way, are taken from only WCS tournaments. Premier League, Challenger League, Tier 1 and Tier 2. But look at his run. That's an impressive run. Look at those Terran wins.
And look
Innovation
at
and Flash. But his 2 losses against Protoss.
But it's against the same Protoss, so it might be a
Yes.
mental thing as well. And we all know if Rain brings his A+ game that he is a god of Protoss. Like, there's no one like him. And as good as Grubby is, or as First is, I think if Rain plays his absolute best, there is no one like Rain. So, you know, I don't think we have to look too much into that.
Yeah.
Either way, I think it's going to be a really fun series. What kind of playstyle are you expecting from Grubby?
I think Grubby is a player that's completely unpredictable from our standpoint, because he's a player. His playstyle is to build a playstyle, if that makes sense, to build how he's going to play before he does. I don't think he's a player like Bomber I see is much more he's going to play aggressive, he's going to play very strong, very solid with his macro. Grubby, it depends on what he thinks is beatable for him to get the win versus Bomber.
I think he's really good in analyzing what his opponent is doing during the game. We saw that in that also important Game 3. He was playing against MVP on Whirlwind back then, where he just had a perfect read on it. It's really fun as well. If you take a look at those last results, 2-1 win over Bonnie, 2-1 win over 4GG, and a 2-1 win over MVP. Those were the only times he played against Terran recently. He won them all.
He won them all, and now he needs to do it on this stage, in front of this crowd, in this tournament. It's time. This is it. This is where Grubby's real stage is. And it is in the WCS Season 2 finals. He missed out doing well in the Premier League Season 1. He missed out in the Season 1 finals. But now he represents the European region. Here today against Bomber, representing Korea. And we'll see how this can shape up, as we are now ready to begin this game. I hope you guys are ready as well for this. I know we're ready. This is going to be a good one. It's going to be Grubby. It's going to be Bomber. 2 fantastic players head-to-head in the best of 3 that we're about to have unfold. So down here as the Red Terran. I've been a fan of this guy for a long time. He's been in the scene for a long time. It is Startail Bomber. He made TVP aggressive play, and we can get back to that afterwards. But up here at the top left, as the blue Protoss from the Europe region, it is Grubby! A lot of fans backing me here, Rotterdam.
Yeah.
Will that be enough to help him fight the odds against Bomber?
I think so. I think Grubby has had a very successful Warcraft 3 pass, at least in Germany, and even in StarCraft 2 he's starting to have quite an amount of success, so it's nice to see that carry over. It's also close to his homeland, of course, you know, kind of feels like home. It's our second home, basically.
No real adjustments to have to make, whether it be his 2 or 3 hour, I think it's 2 or 3 hour car drive that he makes here. I don't think it's too much further. But already, look at Grubby's just kind of, I just want to, kind of look at his building placements already. Identifying that his opponent's aggressive, they're already thrown to the left-hand side. They're thrown away from potential drops right from the get-go.
I must say, I'm pretty surprised that Bomber is going to open up with a command center first, so he's going to play a very economic game. It's not too risky these days, but still, to bust it out in Game 1. I guess if he was going to do it on any of the 3 maps, this was probably going to be the one. But still, I think this is already quite nice for Bomber here. I don't think Grubby is going to be able to bust out anything super aggressive with the opening that he's chosen, the gateway being in his base and being at a relatively normal timing. So I think Bomber is going to be like, all right, this is the way that I wanted to open this game. We're going to take it from here.
And Grubby sees it, so this does become as you say, difficult to punish if he was to try to be aggressive towards it. But let's talk a little bit about Bomber's playstyle. And the words I said before is that Bomber created the aggression TVP. I think there was two big plays that stood out for me when Terran players become really aggressive. And this is like a year ago or something. I think it was Alive and Bomber were two, and Pult, sorry, as well as another good example, is these players were one of the first Terran players to throw down 5 barracks before a 3rd command center. They would hit you hard and they would hit you all over the place with their drops.
Yeah, and that's a scary playstyle to deal with, but it's also something, if you identify it, then you know that you don't have to take too many risks, and Grubby is in general really good against it. I was keeping a close eye on Grubby's build order, because sometimes when a Protoss player scouts that his opponent is going for command center first, he is going to not even mine any gas despite having the assimilator. He's even going to delay his cybernetic score, and it's just going to disrupt the Nexus trade. Grubby didn't do that. He kept mining probes with 3 on gas for quite a while, then eventually he took 1 off, so he still has a relatively quick Nexus, but not as quick as it could have possibly been. And I kind of wonder why, he wanted gas ASAP.
Do you think that Grubby is going to try anything over? Okay, is he going to try something to win the game, let's say before the 15-minute mark or before the 10-minute mark, super aggressive? Or is he more of a player that is going to take it? He's going to go the distance. He's going to play it out against Bomber.
I think he is going to go to distance, but I also think he's going to be quite safe. I don't think we're going to see anything ballsy like you see Oz do, like take a 7-minute third base, or even like a 10-minute third base, which I think is really quick against Terran. I think it's much more going to be like, all right, as soon as I'm stabilized on 2 bases, I'm going to take 3 bases, because I think that Grubby is quite confident in his late game army control. If he gets to that stage where he can get both Colossus and High Templars, you know, Grubby has a long RTS history. He knows how to control big armies. He's done it a million times in Warcraft 3. He's getting better and better and better at it in StarCraft 2. So I don't think Grubby's all that afraid. But I do think that he's going to be safe. And then I'm kind of worried that it might be too safe, that he just falls too far behind. And it doesn't matter how good your control is, if your opponent is up 45, 50 army supply. That's going to be tough. But just speculating right now, we will see.
I really believe in what you say. If Grubby gets to where he needs to be, then he's in a good position. But it's all about surviving the middle part of this game, because that's where Bomber's going to hit fast forward on his play. He's going to be dropping all over the place. He's going to be looking to break you down, move you out of position, bring down Nexus snipes, you know, do anything he can to put himself in an advantageous position. He hasn't opened up too greedy. A lot of Terran players, do like 3rd command centers, but it's normal. It's command center into 3. He's got his tech lab down. Yep. It's a very traditionally based setup from Bomber.
He's saving up quite a bit of money right now, so he might still throw it down. He's going to throw the engineering bay first. I do like what Grubby's doing already with those 2 blink stalkers, making it a little harder for Bomber to scout. You know, just scaring him as well. Like, hey, I got gateway units right outside of your ramp. You might want to pull some SCVs. Maybe you don't, but it also means that you're gambling a little bit already. Bomber is still quite in the dark, doesn't know exactly what Grubby is doing.
In the dark. Like completely, he's seen nothing. Look at that.
You know, this is show. Old school show style, and soon he sends out 1 Hellion, and that's going to be his scout.
He's confident in his own abilities. He's confident in defending any form of attack. He's getting the turret down just anyway in case it was DT play. He had Marines in the main base just now. They're now moving away as the time for an Oracle after an expansion to come down is gone, so he doesn't need to be worried about that. And now he's just starting to set himself up, and he can kind of presume that this is a normal game from this position.
Grubby has an observer, which is about to enter the main base of Bomber. He has to be careful that he doesn't fly it into the missile turret in the natural. This is going to be a really important scout for Grubby, because now Grubby is going to see, all right, there's no turret command center. That is nice. That means that I don't have to do anything crazy like take a really quick turret Nexus, because as long as it's 2 base against 2 base, you know, there's nothing to worry about. Just macro up. Grubby's robo base pretty damn quick, by the way, and I really wonder if he is going to use this for some sort of Colossus timing, or if he just feels like, hey, I want to get a Colossus out so I feel safe. I don't have to worry about some crazy stim push even before Metavex. And we see the Twilight console going down as well, and Forge. So I think Grubby's going to play a long game, and I think he's very satisfied with the fact that it's still a 2-base Bomber. And don't get me wrong, because 2-base Bomber is damn scary. We're going to see drops all over the place. He's on 5 racks already. He's going to have crazy production. But hey, as long as you're only defending 2 bases as Protoss, it is very possible, even when you play against someone as good as Bomber.
Well, for the first time, Grubby's got some vital information. He saw an extra barracks. He's now like, wait a minute, I can count. There's 3 there. And there's another one on the natural, so there's 4 in total. So he can kind of presume that there's a 5th one as well. You don't really get 4 and then expand. It's more like 5, then later expand. So this becomes a very linear game for Grubby. focus on the defense. There's a lot of units. There's 5 barracks.
And you know what? Grubby's actually ahead by 9 workers right now. That's pretty bizarre. Grubby's already up to 55 probes. That also indicates us that no, Grubby does not want to make this a 2-base all-in.
Yeah.
Sure, if he has an opportunity because he crushes this army, he might go for it, but that's not his plan right now. Grubby is still preparing for the longer game, but he doesn't have to drop that 3rd Nexus right now. That would just make his life 3 times as hard, and you could really say that Bomber is going to have to deal some damage with this first little push, these first medevacts, because if he just throws away this army, he's behind in workers, he has no 3rd command center, upgrade-wise, you know, it's nothing spectacular either. Bomber is going to have to deal some damage here. If Grubby survives this phase of the game, I'm starting to dig his position.
I agree with you. So let's see if Grubby can now defend his lead in this game, let's say. A couple of Zealots getting whooped in already. Hasn't quite seen the drops yet. They do come in. But with 3 Zealots, 3 full soakers, that's not quite enough here. He's going to have to continue to defend. But at the front door as well, this is where Bomber's starting to exploit. Grubby needs to be careful. The Zealots are going to go down as well. The Colossus exposed, the Nexus as well.
Where is the photon overcharge? Okay, there is a photon overcharge in the main right now. Grubby is still microing that Colossus in the natural. That one is still alive, so far this is pretty good for Grubby.
Alright, so far so good. It looked a little bit scary with these drops starting to set themselves up, but he's surviving at this point. He's got more Stalkers, or should have some more coming in with Blink on the way. This drop's been dealt with, it gets evacuated. Almost picked up there as well, but the front door's still about to be knocked on.
Double photon overcharge use, and Grubby did lose his sentries, so he's going to have to be so careful with his Colossus because he doesn't really have anything to protect them other than Zealots, and Zealots are going to die.
Alright, well, first couple of Zealots are getting picked off here. Photon overcharge still doing quite a bit of damage here. The Colossus is a little bit exposed. The Mothership core goes down, but 3 Colossus now, a 4th one there as well.
Yeah, that's not something you want to run in anymore with just bio units. Certainly not when Grubby wipes in a few additional Zealots. There's no way they can ignore it. Bomber is going to throw down that 3rd command center right now. Grubby is ahead by 13 workers. He's up to 62 probes. He's in a pretty good position. He does need to clear out this little army and make sure that he can drop that Nexus soon as well.
Yeah, he dropped it already. He kind of knows, without scouting the command center, he kind of knows that this is the time. And now he's like, all right, now where is it? Now where is that command center? He moves his, well, this drop gets picked off finally.
Oh, but this is actually pretty painful though. Bomber is going to sneak in through those rocks. I would have loved to see Grubby take down those rocks to buy those few additional seconds. I would also love to see him put this observer on patrol. I think that's very important. If he puts it on patrol from south to north, he's going to see so much more with it. Right now he doesn't know about this drop, but still, it's just a small thing that he can see a little more.
Nice blink forward there by Grubby. Could have even been a bit of a bait there, actually. But he does push this back. I really think, though, that Grubby definitely over-probed a little bit in this game. Just a little bit too much than he needed. Because, yes, he's in a decent position, but with his 3rd being cancelled at this point, it's excess probes. Imagine if he stopped them earlier and then built them a little bit later on and had a couple more extra units to deal with the 5 barracks that we see out from Bomber.
Definitely, it's always like a yes and no scenario, because these probes are still going to be very useful as soon as the Nexus is up, because if you're only on 46 or 48 probes, by the time that the Nexus is done, it's going to take you a full 90 seconds before you can actually properly saturate that base. I think as long as he didn't take too much damage, which he didn't, because his Colossus positioning was excellent. You know, it's so easy to find one of your Colossus out of position, but that never happened to Grubby. Yeah, sure, once or twice they were on the verge of being out of position, but he kept them alive, and that's difficult for Bomberman, because right now we're going to see Templar Archives going down. Storm is being researched right now. Slowly but steady, Grubby is going to find himself in that phase of the game where he's going to get both Colossus and High Templars. It's all going to come down to late game army control, but I think that Grubby can feel pretty good about how this went so far.
Yeah, he needs to really keep up with Bomber, because Bomber right now is just really exploding with his supply count, already at 177. And is soon to be at 200 supply once he throws down the next couple of depots. He has a very scary Viking count, 11 here. Storm isn't quite ready, but there are 4 Colossus, so they will do a lot of damage.
Good point.
A little bit scary though, right? Surely, look at that army.
No, this is very scary indeed, because those Stalkers have to find themselves in a position where they can actually take down these Vikings, because 11 Vikings, that's a lot of Vikings. Your Colossus are going to die really soon. Storm is not ready yet either. Grubby needs to buy himself a little bit of time. This might actually be the scariest phase in the game. Storm is almost done though. We have 3 High Templars on the field. That's not a crazy amount, but 3 Storms can, you know, make that army evaporate.
One difference towards normal games is that Grubby did attempt earlier on, if anybody noticed, to build pylons around the north side to counterattack from. Smartly, Bomber said, all right, no, that's not going to happen, I'm sorry. So Grubby is a pushback. He's only on his side of the map. There's no counterattack potential. That means all of the army from Bomber is out there aggressively.
Oh, Grubby is going to lose that observer, but he will see the ghost. That's so important, but I love that you just pointed that out, Sean, because I was about to go there as well. We can even see SCVs being pulled. Right now, all that Grubby wants to do is defend. He does have storms. Make sure the EMPs don't land.
Good force fields there do come down. The Stalkers bleed forward. A storm as well. The Vikings are falling, but the Colossus die anyway, so it doesn't really matter at this point, I don't think. One Colossus instead. Is there any more storms? There has to be more storms here, otherwise he's not going to hold on. There has to be more storms. There isn't storms. Archon being made. Grubby's dying to this.
Still so many bio units alive. Time Warp is going down, but I'm afraid it's not going to be enough right now. Bomber with the SCV pool, with a crazy amount of bio units and 1 or 2 EMPs is able to power through. This was really close though, Sean.
This was close, but not close enough here for Grubby as Bomber takes a major lead. The Nexus on the Natural's down. The third is going to fall as well. And Startail Bomber just hits a beautiful attack. Maybe Grubby could have dealt with that better. It definitely wasn't a certain victory for Bomber in that.
I think if Grubby had an additional 30 seconds, like if this army is still alive right now, and it looks like, well, that wasn't close at all. If Grubby is able to land 2 more storms, gets 1 additional warp in, is able to keep 2 Colossus alive against those Vikings, you have a completely different fight. Right now, Grubby is trying to reorganize. Oh, EMP does land on 2 out of 3 High Templars. Great EMP as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's no Vikings actually, but there's so many units here, it doesn't even matter. One storm comes down, but behind it, there's not much left. Bomber just cruising through. GG, Startail Bomber, as some may say expected, picks up map number 1 here. Yeah, but I want to remind you something, Rotterdam, and I want to remind everyone out there else as well. Grubby doesn't win many series when he wins the first map. He needs a kick in the balls to really get things going.
Yeah, he mentioned that as well once in one of the interviews, right? And I definitely think that this is a game that Grubby doesn't have to feel all bad about. He went very well through the first 12 to 14 minutes in this game. I felt like he was defending all the drops properly. I think losing that Nexus the first time was actually a pretty big setback. If he was able to saturate that base a little bit quicker, he might have had those 5th and 6th Vespene guys a little bit quicker. He would have had those 2 or 3 additional High Templars and 1 more storm on those Vikings, or 1 storm on all those bio units that he did force field out, by the way, because I do want to remind that I think he was using the force fields and High Templars, which is very hard in my opinion to control as Protoss. He was doing that pretty good. I think the storms were good enough on the units that went through the force fields, and he did drop a couple of really important force fields. All that he needed was 2 additional storms on those remaining bio units, and he just didn't have them yet. That could have been a world of difference. It didn't look close, but I felt it was actually a pretty damn close fight. 20-30 seconds difference. Maybe if that base isn't cancelled, if he has 300-400 extra gas, I think we might see a different fight.
Alright, well, this is of course the schedule for the rest of the day. After this game, we will be playing the winner of this series versus first. So that makes things more difficult for Grubby if he was to lose this series, because he has to play Pult in the losers match. Well, and that's not easy.
That's definitely not easy, but then again, PvP against first is also not really something that...
Exactly, it's a very difficult group, it's a very difficult tournament.
There are no easy groups, that's for sure.
There are no easy groups. And it looks like we are now ready to begin map number 2. Can Grubby make the comeback? Can he do it here? Or is Bomber gonna, as said before, expect to take a 2-0 and go into the winners match? We'll find out. It is him versus him, Grubby versus Bomber, on Belshir Vestige, down in the bottom right side as the red Terran. Make some noise for Startail Bomber! Looking good, looking great.
So
and up here, to the top left, is the blue Protoss. I know you know his name. It is Grubby! Can he do it, Rotterdam?
I really think he can, because in my opinion, game 1 was nothing to feel too bad about. It even came to the point where Bomber was pulling SUVs. And I do think what you mentioned before, picking off those pylons, that is so important, because if those pylons would have still been up all around the map, on a certain moment Grubby would have been able to wipe in 3-4 charge lots. If he sends those charge lots to the third base, he creates a problem for Bomber. Bomber is slowed down by 30 to 45 seconds, something we see first always do, or even Crank, for instance, love to do that. And when you try to hit timings like this, where you're even pulling SCVs on a crazy moment, and you say, all right, this is the moment where I feel I have enough Vikings, 1-2 goals, and I'm going to go for it because I know he doesn't have that many storms. Every second counts, and the fact that Grubby was never able to slow Bomber down was so important. I think that was absolutely beautiful play, and I think, for instance, Grubby, this game, he's not going to put those pylons in positions where you normally want to have them. You know, instead of Belgian vessels, normally you get pylons on the left side of the map if you spawn on the left up. Maybe Grubby gets a pylon on that fort base on the right side of the map. You know, just to confuse it, make it a little bit harder for Bomber to find those pylons. If he's just able to buy a little bit of additional time, that game could have been different, so I think he can do it. But Belgian Vessels is such a different map than Ekelund, though. Plays out very different. Yeah, it plays out very differently in multiple ways. I think this is a decent map for Protoss players to play a little bit more defensive on because of the map structure with ramps. Being able to force field just twice on one ramp, 3 on another, to really prevent the units from coming up and filter them through. I really like that part. But also, it's a smaller 2-player map. There's a lot of SCV pulls that can happen on this map if Grubby doesn't have the right sentry count. For example, he was low with the sentries previously because he rushed out the Colossus and so on. But this is also a more predictable map here. It's small, it's 2 players, the pylons are easy to find. I don't think we'll see anything crazy from Grubby at all. No, I don't think so either. We see the Reaper making its way across the map, Reactor going down in the main base from Bomber as well. Bomber clearly opening very different than he did in the previous map, even though yes, that command center is still going down in the natural. Oh, I love this little probe. This can actually slow Bomber down a little bit. Bomber is going to be forced to pull a probe or two. You know, it's the small things that matter. Small things that matter. Small things that matter, Roddy. Yeah, you know all about that, don't you? I know all about that, my friend. As that SCV does get harassed by the other 2. And the Reaper decides to come back here. He's kind of seen that this is very normal from Grubby. A 1 gas expansion means that Grubby really can't be too aggressive, so the Reaper is able to come back here and deal with this pesky bugger. You know, if I want to ask you the good old question, which is like, you know, this question goes back to pretty much day 1 of the beta. How do you prefer to see PvT? When they go High Templar first into a Colossus switch later on, or the Colossus opening into the High Templars? I prefer Colossus myself. Okay. Personally prefer Colossus. I don't mind Templar play, and I don't think it's bad at all, but preference-wise, Colossus. I feel way too vulnerable if I don't hit my storms. If they miss, and I'm out of energy, then I'm dead technically. But you know what's really great when you open High Templars? When you don't rely on the storms, where you just feed back the meta effects and you let your charge bolts clean it up. But I am still a really big fan. I'm not saying it's better, but I am a really big fan of the High Templar opening. And I think that if Grubby would open up High Templars against a player like Bomber, who always tries to drop on 2 bases, it is so much easier to defend drops, in my opinion, with High Templars, because feedback is just absolutely amazing. You know, you might throw him off a little bit, because Bomber is probably expecting a Colossus opening once more, but I don't think it's going to happen, so we don't really need to talk about it. But I am very curious to see when Bomber decides to throw down that Squirt Command Center, or if he's even going to do it at all, because I wouldn't be surprised if he stays on 2 command centers for a super long time this time. Well, he's actually thrown down a factory before the 3rd barracks here, as we can see, so he's actually raced out his medivacs a little bit earlier because he doesn't have to spend money on a 3rd barracks here. So this is interesting. I like this. This does increase, not so much his frontal attacks, it can still work, but more so his drop, more so his aggressive play style here. And if Grubby cuts corners, he doesn't have the right amount of units out at the right time. For example, he's got no sentries at all, and again, has a fast robotics bay coming in. Can Grubby defend on multiple fronts against a player that's rushing out his medivacs a little bit earlier? And there are different phases in a game where it's so difficult as well to defend against those drops. The first moment those medivacs hits, yeah, it's going to be really tough because you only have 1 Colossus, but most likely you're going to have to defend at 2 fronts, so you have to be sure about, you know, with a Photon Overcharge and 1 Colossus, you might be able to hang in there, but if the next wave comes where suddenly the medivac goes up from 4 to 6 or something, it might get very tricky as well. We will see. Grubby gets a pretty good scout up once more with that Observer though, and the same thing can be said for Bomber over here. Gets a fantastic scout up. Oh man, he sees everything. Absolutely everything. He sees basically this build is like 1 gateway, expansion, Robo, Forge, Robotics Bay before additional gateways, so he's very, very low on his unit count at this point, but clearly through opting for a build like this, Grubby does become stronger the later the game goes on. Yep.
But Bomber, absolutely, he's going to get aggressive versus this. He's going to get over there and he's going to put the pressure on.
I would love Grubby to just see play very safe this time. He's already dropping the Twilight, and that's of course good because you do want to get that +2 armor and stuff, but you know, I would have almost even said just wait a little bit with that Twilight, maybe get 1 or 2 additional gates, as long as you don't see 3 command centers, just only rely on Colossus and Gateway units for quite a while.
Well look, he didn't research Thermal Lance, and he's only got a single Colossus here.
Oh, did he?
So it seems like he may be switching up to, as you said, maybe easier for him to deal with Bomber. It's not going to be as fast as it possibly could have come because the first Colossus is out.
This creates a whole new scenario in this game though, because there is going to be this moment where he could really use to, he is going to make a second Colossus. I think that's pretty smart. You know, do you think he might have forgot Thermal Lance, or did he research it and then cancel it? We see Blink being researched right now. I think if he wanted to go a really quick Storm, he wouldn't be researching Blink right now.
Yeah, that's the thing that's confusing.
Oh, there we go.
I don't think it was forgotten per se. I think he opted to get Blink earlier to be able to deal with Bomber better.
Maybe when Bomber scouted it, he wanted to be like, hey, I am not going really Colossus, but now he is actually going. It's like a double mind game.
Absolutely, could be one of those things here. But Bomber's in the base. It's unspotted. Oh no, it is. It is spotted just here. But this isn't really going to do too much here. Grubby pulls back. Oh, he can't lose the Colossus. And whoa, he actually could have lost sentries there as well. But Grubby does defend without taking too much. And as you said as well, pylon placements have changed up. On the right-hand side of this map is the probe. Unfortunately, it's spotted very, very early there. So he does already know, Bomber, at the back of his mind, that there is probably a pylon on that right-hand side. But so far so good from Grubby, right?
Yep, above all, he saw those medevacs as well. He did not move the observer that he has in the main base from Bomber though for quite a while. And if he would move that, and if he would spot that command center, which is just barely out of range, I really think that would help Grubby a lot. Because right now, he doesn't know if this could be an all-out 2-base Bomber. Like Bomber can just suddenly go YOLO swag and pull all the SCVs and run in. And I think the moment you identify that, okay, there is at least a 3rd command center, you give yourself a more comfort state of mind. You at least know that, okay, I don't have to worry about super crazy stuff.
Well, every little bit helps here. 2 Zealots, fine. Grubby's locked down very defensively. A sentry on top of that, nice. Every little bit helps here for Bomber, just small little things. Because Grubby's never going to allow something as big as a tech structure pick off or a Nexus being picked off here. So just a couple of Zealots, a sentry is better than nothing here for Bomber. Which is, you know, slowing Grubby down a little bit. It's 2 less Zealots in the fight. A sentry that maybe doesn't have a Guardian Shield later on or something.
Yeah, exactly. Now you only have 2 sentries left. If you drop a couple of Force Shield, you may not have a Guardian Shield. And I have to admit that I almost forget Guardian Shield in every single scenario, late game PvT, which is stupid because it's basically 2 armor upgrades. It's insane how good Guardian Shield is, and it's insane how often I forget it. You know, Grubby moved his observer to the left side of the bottom, but right now he's actually repositioned that observer, and he's going to find that command center. This is a great scout for Grubby, and I think Grubby is immediately going to send out the probe, and he's like, all right, if you're going 3 base, then I'm going to go 3 base as well. He has the probe count for it, he has the amount of observers on the map for it as well, so it shouldn't be that hard for him to see where the drops are coming from and stuff, and we can already see him trying to clear out, make sure there's no single Marine standing there.
One advantage from Bomber's playstyle, which has been non-drop heavy because he's been pushed away from Grubby, is that he's maintained all 4 medivacs, which means Viking production has been going again for a very, very long time. And he's already up to 8, and he's about to have 10, which clearly makes another powerful attack. This is something which Grubby needs to focus on not losing to. It's like take 2. It's like, all right, game 1, I messed up at this point. Game 2, I'm there again. I'm in a decent spot again. But let's not let the same occurrence happen. He has to focus on defending.
I would love to see Grubby use every single bit of gas that he has right now only on High Templars. That's really what he needs, like on nothing else. Zealots, sure, they're pretty damn sweet anyways, but there are 47 Marines out on the map right now for Bomber, so that means if these Colossus die, and there is not enough Storm, everything is just going to die from Protoss, because those Marines are going to have ludicrous DPS. It's going to be absolutely insane. Grubby needs as many possible Storms as he can right now, and he's already up to 4 High Templars right now. He's almost having gas for a 5th. I think if Grubby's able to land 1 or 2 big Storms, look how low the medevac count is. It's only at 4. I would even love to see 2 feedbacks. That means so little heal in that army.
Yeah, but also he can't spend too much gas because he's got a 2nd Forge finish in. He's got to upgrade as well as the balance of the art, which really, you know, makes one player to another. And Grubby needs to make these decisions smartly. He sends in Zealots now, which get denied immediately. They don't get to the mineral line, which is ideally where they'd want to be here, but the Viking count continues to increase.
Grubby is actually looking to be a little bit aggressive right now, perhaps thinking like, hey, let's see if you actually have any ghosts yet on the map. Grubby has to be very careful, because yes, there are 3 ghosts, and if those ghosts would be able to land EMPs on Grubby's army, then he's in a lot of trouble, because his Colossus are going to die very quickly. This is definitely not the moment where Grubby wants to find his army out of position. Maybe he's just scaring Bumble a little bit, I'm not sure.
Well, this is the perfect time now where both players need to be very delicate with their armies. They cannot make a mishap. You cannot just walk down and get EMP'd, walk down and get stormed. Both sides here need to play this out very smartly, spread their armies thin. Grubby's okay to take a fight here, apparently. Where are the storms? Good force fields-ish here. One storm doesn't really do anything on the left-hand side there.
But
not too much going down from Grubby.
I think that was a reasonable fight, even though yes, he lost a couple of Colossus. He's going to try to land big storms right now. The medevac count is up to 6. I felt the only good thing for Grubby was there that his stalkers were kind of protected, and I thought he might be able to snipe a lot of these medevacs, but he was running out of force fields, and he didn't want to make this situation any worse than he is right now.
Yeah, I think that fight was pretty good from Bomber though, but here's what we missed last time, a counter-attack happening here, but at the same time, Bomber's very aggressive here. He's moving forward, this could get EMP'd, he's got to be very careful with his army. One Colossus does take a bit of damage here. Bomber's found a brilliant position here. This is so impossible for Grubby to fight in. He has to come down, channel his forces through. He can't get there. The Nexus being fired on the left-hand side too. Bomber's found the sweet spot against Grubby.
He's going to blink forward though. He's going to be able to snipe a couple of these Vikings. He still has a lot of storms. He still has a lot of Archons. Grubby's losing a crazy amount of supply though. He might be able to kill these medevacs. That would be something. If Bomber loses his army, that's not an army he can just replace, but is he ever going to lose it?
Oh, another EMP goes down on this army, and Bomber's just got so many units, and the 4 medivacs, a 5th one in there now, just haven't died off.
That's a great storm.
A good storm, but does he have enough here? A blink backwards, he's down to 93 supply, he's not mining from many bases, he's taken a lot of damage now, there's no splash damage left, and Bomber just looks absolutely dominant here in the WCS Season 2, just crushing through, and Grubby, despite counterattacking, he's killed a lot of SCVs, he's forced non-mining on the natural and on the 3rd base of Bomber, but he doesn't have it to deal with this army.
Wow, Bomber going for that position between the 2nd and the 3rd base while Grubby's army was zoned out was brilliant. I actually thought it was very risky, because if there's High Templar flank from both sides, I thought, you know, Bomber might get stormed from every single area and he would never be able to land EMPs. But somehow he had an excellent feel where most of those units were, was able to take out that Nexus immediately, and the Colossus count went down as well, and suddenly Bomber finds himself up 100 supply. Man, that's just great army movement by Bomber, which I thought was going to be risky, but he definitely knew what he was doing.
Look at Bomber now, 4 ghosts in the medivac saying, alright, you know what, an EMP is probably pretty good right now, and he's going to try it, and oh yes, of course, Bomber does it, of course he does. GG, Bomber takes it 2-0, goes into the winners match quite convincingly there over Grubby.
And this was such a weird game because it felt like Grubby was doing almost everything right once more. He got up to 3 bases. He wasn't really severely outmined in any stage of the game. It's just the moment that both players were getting close to maxed out. That fed in the middle of the map. I didn't feel that was a fight that Grubby had to take. Like he was starting himself up with those zealot run-bys. That was going to go pretty well for him. He didn't need to be that far out on the map. I thought it went sort of okay, but I guess losing 2 out of 4 Colossus while not really killing anything worthy was just not worth it in the long run.
Well, Bomber's the guy that takes the victory, moves on to the winners match where he will play again against First. He played against him in the Premier League in Korea, dominated. Bomber is set up to take first place in this group. Bomber's got a lot of fans, he's representing StarTale well, but Grubby finds himself in a very difficult position now. Must beat Captain America, Polt, in the losers match to continue his season finals.
That's going to be a great match regardless. I do not think that Grubby is chanceless. Once more, I felt that he played pretty solid. It's just, you can really see late game, there's just a difference between the foreign Terrans that Grubby perhaps normally practices with, or that he even faces in most competitions, or suddenly you play a guy like Bomber, and you know, it feels like, okay, I'm doing fine, and no, most of the time as a Protest player, once you're doing fine against Terran, it's like, that actually means I'm doing great, because I'm not behind. Well, against these Korean Terrans, it doesn't work like that. You're still gonna have to work your ass off to somehow turn the fight in your favor, and Bomber's army control was ridiculous. He did that so well.
Just beautiful play here from Bomber. His macro was fantastic, being able to, you know, build up an army so good, control his economy so well, and most importantly, as you said, be able to control his army so well, so efficiently, finding the right positions. In game 1 was a nice timing. Game 2 was there, as we saw, get in position over Grubby, and Grubby trying to filter through that area, man. He's never going to have a good time against Bomber in that position. But that's good news for Bomber, man, who goes up against another Protoss player. He showed dominance in front of First, who I'm sure is having flashbacks of him losing so easily to Bomber. And now he's like, all right, he just destroyed Grubby.
But
I hope I don't get destroyed.
A lot of things have happened though since those two played against each other in the quarterfinals of WCS Korea.
Yeah.
I mean, for instance, Bomber went on, but he lost 4-1 against Rain. You know, Bomber has lost multiple occasions against Protoss players, and just now First was able to defeat Paul 2-0. So you know, it's a new series, and I think it's going to be a great series. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. So now it's time to hear some thoughts from StarTale Bomber himself.
This is Shober here on stage with Bomber, who just won his first match here at WCS Season 2 Finals. Yeah, give him a round of applause. Great games, a 2-0 against Grubby. Well, let's hear what he has to say. It always feels good to start a tournament 2-0. 그러면 이제 이번 시즌 2 파이널 이제 2대0으로 시작을 하셨어요. 기분이 어떠세요?
일단 순조롭게 출발해서 기분이 좋고 꼭 조 1위로 진출하고 싶어요.
He says, you know, it feels great to have such a smooth start to a tournament, and I want to make sure that I get first in my group to go on to the round of 8. 자, 그러면 지금 뭐 순조롭게 시작하셨다고 하셨는데 첫 게임에서 게임이 잘 풀리다가 의료선 2개 이제 가셨는데 잡히셨어요. 그때 좀 멈칫하셨나요? 아니면 그 의료선은 뭐 어느 정도 할 일을 했으니 게임을 그냥 계속 풀어나가면 된다 그런 생각을 하셨나요?
사실 너무 정신이 없어서 의료선이 터지긴 했는데 상황 자체는 저한테 좋은 상황이었던 것 같아요.
And Bomber, you're talking about the medevacs going up in game 1 where, you know, he sent 2 medevacs and then they did get caught, and Bomber says, you know what, I was way too scatterbrained and I realized that I lost my medevacs, but I knew overall I was in a better state, so I wasn't too worried about that specific moment. I just kept playing the game. 자, 그러면 이제 곧바로 승자전을 준비하셔야 돼요. 그래서 LGIM의 이제 퍼스트 선수랑 대결을 하셔야 되는데 이거를 기대를 하셨나요? 아니면 폴트 선수가 올라올 거를 예상을 하셨나요?
사실 아무 선수나 올라와도 제가 이길 거라고 생각했어요.
그러면 뭐 자신만만하게 2대0으로 이길 자신이 있으신가요?
네.
Alright, so talking about his opponent coming up in the winner's match, it's going to be First from LGIM. I asked if that's what he predicted, and Bomber says, you know what? I knew I could win whoever came up, and I knew I could win that 2-0. So Bomber determined to go on to the round of 8 as first place of Group B. Once again, give StarTale Bomber a big round of applause for winning his first match 2-0. And we're going to be going right to a little bit of analysis with Artosis and see what he thought in this matchup between Bomber and Grubby.
Hey everybody. We actually saw during the first game on Akalon, Rotterdam was saying that even though this battle that we're about to look like, it looked really one-sided for Bomber, but Rotterdam was saying, you know, I think that this was actually a lot closer than it looked, and it really was. So let's go ahead and start to take a look at this. There's a little mistake that's made here. So the Vikings start to come up, and the High Templars are actually in the back a little bit. Now he does pull back and throw down great force fields, but here, watch, he starts to storm the Vikings. They're clumped up, they look like something you want to storm, but if you're going to use all your size storms on the Vikings, then you have to have Colossus left over for the splash damage, which he simply did not have. It would have been better to either pull the Colossus way back, because he did have the force field wall here, and then kill off the Vikings, or let the Colossus die and use your storms on the actual bio army itself. If he had done either of those things, he may have been able to end up holding this, but when you have no splash damage left against an army of this size, it's just not going to happen. So that's it for this analysis. Red Eye, take it away.
Thank you very much, Artosis. Spot on as usual, of course. And we are going to go to a very quick break in a moment before we come back for our final game. But just a quick reminder for you, if you are out there in the world right now and you want to communicate with us, you want to let us know your thoughts on the games that you've seen so far, or just simply tell us who you're supporting, you can do so via Twitter and Facebook /StarCraft. And don't forget to use the hashtag #WCS. You guys here, if you can get a 3G signal, you can do the same thing. But right now I'm struggling. It is the WCS Season 2 Finals. We'll be back with more after this.